This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, go ahead and mute yourself, you guys, and we'll get started. So training today is going to be on the Section 125 paperwork. So I'm going to talk about the close all the way through finishing the Section 125 paperwork, okay? But it really starts with closing first. So let's talk about that. Okay, so let me think about where I want to get started at. Okay, so you're on the last slide, okay? And how the close goes, so you're going to review. So how this all works when you get done with your presentation, that last slide says, so how it all works is all we ask is to meet with your employees for a few minutes, and we'll provide them with the 2 introductory offers. Those are the accidental death and the discount card to all your employees that they're entitled to. We'll let them know that you negotiated this on their behalf. We'll have them complete the needs analysis, and then we'll offer protection for those that have needs. And all we ask from you as the business owner is if any of your employees want to participate in any of the benefits, that you allow them to do that through payroll deduction. So that way you get the tax savings and they get the tax savings. Okay, so that's the start of the close, right? You guys all recognize that, okay? And I have some time available. So the actual close is I have some time available on this date or that date to meet with your employees, which date works best for you. Okay, so that's the close, okay? So the first step to closing a business is you want to get that enrollment date. Okay, so write that down. The enrollment date is first. Okay, the enrollment date is basically there's 2 things that are very, very important with closing a business, and it's the enrollment date and it's the employee list. Okay, if you have those 2 things, the rest of it is easy. Okay, but the 2 hardest things to get are a solid enrollment date and time, and then that employee list. Okay, so get the enrollment date first. Okay, and that's when basically just throwing out 2 dates just helps getting the negotiation of what date you're gonna get actually happen. So like if you say, well, let me back up too. When you give your dates, you guys, make sure before you start your day in the field that you already have dates. Like you want to be intentional walking into every single business that you're going to give a presentation on the spot. Okay. You give a presentation on the spot, then you need to know what days you can actually enroll. Okay, so before you start your day, you want to make sure you have a benefit fact sheet, your Section 125 paperwork. You have date and times of appointments that you could book if you need to book an appointment, and then days and times that you can actually enroll that business. But keep in mind, when you guys get Section 125 paperwork and we get it turned in, the quickest we can get it turned around is typically 48 hours. So if I'm prospecting on a Tuesday, you never really want to offer up, you know, oh, I can meet with your employees tomorrow or like give it at least 48 hours. So if it's Tuesday, you could say, and I actually have some time available this Friday to meet with your employees, or I could meet with them the following Tuesday, the 11th at this date and time, okay? But give yourself at least 48 hours, because by the time we turn this paperwork in, and then Amanda and Deanne check it and get it sent to home office, they have that business has to complete a verification call with our home office before they'll issue a franchise number, okay? Now, worst case scenario, we have workarounds if we don't get a franchise number in time, but ideally we want to have that. So give yourself at least 48 hours, but before you start your day, you want to have your enrollment dates in your mind, okay? Plus, you guys that are new, us as managers, we try to invite you on all of our enrollments anyways, so you can see what days that we're enrolling. So if we already have, like if we just have 1 enrollment that date, you can book that date because there's me, Craig, and Diana that are available to be a part of enrollments. But if like, let's say we have 2 enrollments on a Tuesday and nothing on a Wednesday, offer up that Wednesday, you know, try to help fill in the gaps, okay? But before you actually do your presentation on the spot, you want to have those dates, okay? So that way when you close, you offer up those dates, and then it's usually just a negotiation of like whatever works for them. But that getting that enrollment date is step number 1. Okay, so now you have your enrollment date. Okay, they give you, okay, yeah, you can meet with our employees next Thursday. Now you want to figure out what time. Okay, so is first thing in the morning better, or do you want us to do it, right after lunch, or, during lunch, or at the end of whatever? Figure out the date and time. Once that's solidified, then this is your transition statement. And I want you to write this down verbatim. So once you get that enrollment date, then be like, okay, great. You want to take your section 125 paperwork, and you should already have it organized in the order, but the first thing you want to pull out is your checklist, okay? Which is this page here, the employee engagement process, and it's a checklist. Okay, so if you're taking notes, you should have that as your cover page, okay? You want to put this in order. So the order I want you to put your paperwork is the checklist, which is the employee engagement process, the checklist. So do that first. Then you want to have an example of the employee list, because that's going to be second. And then I'm going to have you put the 2 signature pages after that. The first signature page is the payroll deduction agreement page. And then the second page is the application for group life insurance. Okay, so that's the order you should have this in.
Did you say that order?
Okay, so one more time. The top page should be your checklist. Second page should be the example of your employee list. Third page should be your payroll deduction agreement. Fourth page should be the application for group life insurance, and then everything else after that, okay? So typically what I will do is I do my closing statement, so I have some time available to enroll your employees on this date or that date. And just to back up, because I want to make sure we cover this, guys, it does not matter if you are sitting down with a business that has 5 employees or 150 employees. You present the same, you close the exact same, okay? I understand that sometimes, like when we walk in certain businesses, everybody has the businesses that intimidate them for whatever reason in their minds. But I'm just telling you, the longer you're in this business, the better you get at closing all different types of businesses. You present the exact same, you close the exact same. So that's why, like with Jazz, I was giving him major props when he presented to the hospital, over 200 employees, and Craig, gave him awesome recognition for it because his presentation was awesome, and you closed it the exact same way you would if they only had 5 employees. Okay, it doesn't change, okay, the process at all, which makes it easier on you guys. So don't prejudge, don't allow the number of employees or anything to intimidate you. Just close it the exact same way, and that's asking for which day to enroll that employee. So once you get that date, you're going to write it in on this checklist. Okay, so in the middle of the page, in the middle of this checklist, you'll see it'll say enrollment dates, and it'll say enrollment start time. So just go ahead. So typically, okay, yeah, you can come meet with my employees next Wednesday, the 13th, and mornings are best. We start at 8 a.m. Can you be here at 8 a.m.? Yeah, no problem. So I'm going to write enrollment date. I get my pen out and I write Wednesday, January 13th, starting at 8 a.m. I write it there. And then typically, just because I'm on this page, I'll say, now, will you be here that day for the enrollment? Okay, whoever you're closing that business with, you want them to be there. So you'll see that third line, it says contact person day of enrollment. If it's that business owner, you just ask them, will you be here that day? You want them to be there because now they're the ones that you closed it with. They're your cheerleader, okay? And then go ahead and write in who will be receiving the deductions, okay? Which you should know from where. Yeah, you should already have this information. If you do the benefits fact sheet, you ask them, do you do payroll in-house? Who does your deductions? And you should already know that. So you write that in there, okay? Okay, so you get that enrollment date, you write it in there, and this is your transition statement, okay? Into the paperwork, you say, okay, so there's just a couple things I need to get you in our system. That's the transition line. So, okay, great. You can come meet with my employees Wednesday at 8 a.m. Okay. And will you be here that day? Okay, perfect. And I know you already said Becky Sue is the one that handles your payroll deductions. Okay, great. And I'm handwriting that in here. Okay, now, Mr. Bob, the business owner, there's just a couple things I need to get you in our system. And this is just a checklist to make sure I covered everything with you. Okay. And what I like about this checklist, guys, if you're a brand new agent, this checklist is making sure you don't forget to cover something with them. That's really what it is. So if you are green, you've never really closed a business before, it's your first presentation that you've closed on your own, this checklist is there to help you. So just make sure you go line by line and make sure you cover everything. But what the other reason why this checklist is really, really important is you ask them for initials before you actually ask them for signatures. So once it's like a warm up, because business owners, sometimes they're like weird about signing things. So if you can get them to initial, it's kind of like, okay, like initial's not really like a signature, but it's like a warm up, like, okay, if they're willing to initial this, they're willing to sign the next 2 pages. It's not just like, oh, we're going to get you in our system. Now I need you to sign here and sign here. Okay, we don't want, like, we're not trying to put pressure on them. It's really like a warm up to get them to actually give you the signatures. Okay, so again, you can meet with my employees Wednesday starting at 8 a.m. Okay, great. Will you be here that day of the enrollment? And you said Becky Sue's the one that handles your payroll. Perfect. I'm just writing that in here. And Bob, the business owner, there's just a couple things I need to get you in our system. And this is just a checklist to make sure I covered everything with you. And you're just going to read it, guys. So I start with, so if you have it in front of you, and I wish I had, I mean, I should have a digital copy, but that first line, you just read it. It says, the most important part of a successful benefit enrollment is 100% participation by all employees. And this benefits you in 3 ways. So just read that. Number 1 is it benefits you with tax savings. Okay. And just to kind of sidestep, a lot of times, guys, not a lot of times, but sometimes business owners only care what's in it for them. So sometimes business owners will close it with you mainly because one, it costs them nothing, and 2, it's going to create tax savings. That you got them sold on that. Okay. Yes, it benefits their employees. Yes, it helps out. Obviously we're helping people provide benefits, but sometimes just the tax savings alone is what really gets people to close it. Okay. So you want to start with that. So that benefits you in 3 ways. 1 is tax savings. The more employees that participate in the plan by participating in the benefits, the greater your tax savings as an employer. So that's point number 1. I'm just reading it. Okay. Number 2 is employee goodwill. So as discussed, we will provide the accidental death benefit to all eligible employees at no cost to them, and the health discount card. And we'll make, in that last sentence there on employee goodwill, guys, is very, very important. We will make sure your employees know that these benefits are being made available on your behalf. So you cover that with them. And then the last thing is this helps keep you in compliance with Section 125. So our goal is to make sure your plan stays in compliance. Your plan stays in compliance when you ensure that all employees have an opportunity to participate in benefits. And then I usually just elaborate on that. We just want to make sure nobody was discriminated against. So we take care of that for you. So we just mark them off as we see it. And that's a perfect leeway into the next thing, because now you're going to ask for that employee list. Okay. So you just ask them to initial that. Okay. So they initial those 3 lines. And in order to keep you in compliance and get you guys in our system, so this is the next transition line if you want to write this down. So in order to help keep you in compliance and make sure that you guys get in your system, then we just need to know who works here. And then what you're going to do is pull out that example employee list and put it in front of them and just say, we just need an employee list with names and hire dates, and make sure you emphasize, so put this in your notes, we don't need any personal information. Okay. Because sometimes that can turn people, like business owners, off. Like you're a stranger walking in, you present he says yes, and then all of a sudden you're asking for all the employees' information. We don't need any personal information. Okay, all we need, and you're giving them, remember guys, it starts with why. So before you ask for something, you're going to tell them why you're asking for it. So again, the reason I'm asking for this is, one, we'll mark them off as we see them to keep you in compliance, but also we just need to know who works here. So we can offer everybody that works here the two benefits that they're entitled to now that you've partnered with us. So we just need names and hire dates. We don't need any personal information. And this is just an example of it. And this is the question you want to ask. Is that something I can get from you? Is that something I can get from you, or is that something I would get from Becky Sue?
Hey, Amanda.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you repeat the transition, please, for me?
For the employee list, or which one?
Yeah, for the employee list.
Okay, so the transition line is, so I went through the three ways that it benefits them, the three checklists, and I say, but we help keep you in compliance. So that last point, by marking off, we'll make sure we see everybody that works here. So in order to get you guys in our system, we just need to know who works here. So I just needed an employee list. I don't need any personal information. And this is just an example of it, but just names and hire dates when they started, and then we'll mark them off as we see them. Is that something that I can get from you? Or is that something, you can just ask, is that something I can get from you today? And you want to get that employee list, okay? Now, this is a side point. If you have a business that's like 15 employees or less, or even, I mean, I don't even care if it's 20 employees. If they act like it's going to be a huge hassle to get that employee list, you literally can handwrite it. So especially your businesses that are, yeah, like Mallory has an example, she got it this week, but like 5, 10 employees, sometimes like the smaller, like 5, 6, 7 employees, they might not have an employee list. Yeah, so just be like, oh, okay, if that's going to be a huge hassle, I don't want this to be a hassle for you at all. If you only have 7 employees, that's easy. I can just jot them down. So who all works here? Obviously you and Becky Sue, so that's the first 2. Now I just need 5 more. Well, we have Sam Johnson and we have Bob Smith and blah, 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 blah. Okay, when did they start working? Just turn that example employee list over on the back, which is blank, and just start handwriting it. But you have to have a signature on it. So write that down. You have to have a signature on your employee list, okay? And like the business Sam and I closed on Tuesday, he printed out an employee list. He couldn't print out their hire dates, so he hand wrote the hire dates. This is just for you to know, but you have to have a typed name and hire date. So like, if you have it that way where it's hand wrote, you can just type it up in Word and then staple it to the one that they actually sign, and you can turn it in that way. But as long as like, if you hand write it, just get a signature and make a Word document, type it up, and then turn it in that way. Okay.
Yeah. If he can call
So just to back up, you get the employee date or the enrollment date first. You go through the checklist, and now you're getting that employee list.
So our hire dates, like if obviously
it can be a rough estimate. Honestly, for you guys, and like, I don't think I've never had somebody be like, yeah, man, they really were like auditing those hire dates. Just so you guys know, the reason we get hire dates is because of that, the eligibility time. So like when you get a business, they have to be employed there at least 6 months, but there are some businesses that have a year eligibility. So like if you have employees that you want to make sure you have 5 employees that have worked there at least 6 months for it to qualify. If not, then you need to talk to that business owner and be like, you have to let them know, like our home office, they have a 6-month eligibility, but it's based off of the information that you give. So if you want everybody to qualify, they can make it so that everybody qualifies. It's the information that you get from that business owner. Okay. But you have to have 5 employees that have been there at least 6 months, just so you know. Okay. But yeah, like if you have somebody that started in 1994, does it really matter if they started in January or September? No. So just write January. It really doesn't matter. Like
The
if,
guy just had no clue that they had all been working for like 15.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So I mean, it can be a rough estimate, like I just try to make it as easy as possible because you don't want it to be a hassle. But a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, I can, if they have QuickBooks, if they have, a lot of times businesses have a roster available and they can just print it off, okay? So checklist, you get the employee list. And then back to this checklist here. So you see underneath the middle part, you'll see employee list with names and hire dates. So we just got that. Now you have to let them know that there's going to be a verification call. So just go down this list, okay? And just so you know, our home office is going to call you just to verify that you are a real business, that I did meet with you today. They'll probably call you sometime tomorrow. It's basically whenever you know you're going to turn this paperwork in, they will call within 24 hours. So if you know you're not going to turn this in because you're not going to be at the office until Friday, then I would say, you're going to get that verification call on Friday or the following Monday. Okay. Let's say today is Wednesday and you're going to turn it in that night, or because you have that enrollment, on Monday or whatever, let them know they're going to get that call. Okay. So you can kind of know when they're going to get that call, but find out, like, is that okay if they do that verification call with you, or do you want it to be with Becky Sue or whoever? Okay. Sometimes you have to pull like Becky Sue into the meeting and kind of go over everything with them. And sometimes you have to represent to that person, just kind of give you guys a heads up, but just go through this list. So employee list with hire dates, let them know they're going to get that verification call. And do you want them to call you here at the office, or is it better to call your cell phone? And whatever number that they call on this sheet here, it's the billing information sheet, which you do not need a signature on. Okay. The fourth line down, it says employer, owner, decision maker. There's a phone number. You want to put it there, or the person who handles deductions. Like whoever's going to do that verification call, you want to put it on that line. Okay. So if they do want you to call a cell, just so you guys know, put it right there. Okay. All right. So now we let them know there's a verification call. We have our employee list. Now there's just last two things to get you in our system. Okay. And you already have your paperwork in order. It's the two signatures. And the way you present these two signatures, I think is important. So I'm going to give you the transition line. So there's just last two things to get you in our system. This page here is just a payroll deduction agreement. It's basically saying I'm willing to do the payroll deductions for my employees that want to participate, and I'm willing to send those to Liberty National. That's all that this is, and I just need a signature right here. Okay. So you see that, Darius? Yeah, right there is what they'll sign. Okay. And if you want to, which honestly, if you present it like that, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you need to, the fourth paragraph down on this page, sometimes I'll point this out if I have a decision maker that's like a little hesitant, I'll be like, and I always like to point out this paragraph. The employer assumes no responsibility for payroll deduction after termination of employment of the insured employee. So basically, like, this is always at no cost for you. But if you present this signature page, just like how I said it, they usually have no problem signing it, okay? So I'm going to say it one more time. And when I get done with all this, I'm going to start from the beginning and so you can hear the verbiage all the way through. But so there's just two more things I need to get you in our system. This page here is just the payroll deduction agreement. That's literally what the name of it is. And what that means is that any of your employees that want to participate, you're willing to do the payroll deductions and send those to Liberty National. And there's just one signature there. Okay. And then the next page, so after they sign that, is the last signature. And this is just the application for group life insurance. So we can offer that group term. And there's just one signature there. Okay. Right there. Okay. And that's literally all that you need signature wise and information wise from them. But there's one last thing I want you to make sure. So then I want you to go to that billing information sheet. Okay. which will be in your packet somewhere. And we do have to fill all of this out. Like 99% of this information we can get off of their business card, or like you've already gotten it on your benefit fact sheet. So, but I want you just to triple check a couple things, okay? So first and foremost, the fourth line down and the fifth line down, it says employer, decision maker, and the company billing payroll person, okay? Okay, so the first thing is like, who is going to be making that verification call? You need to find that out. Okay, and whoever's making that verification call, you need to find out what number they want to be called. Because if you just assume it's the office, but the owner said he'll do the verification call and he's always out on jobs, like perfect example is the Rivertown windows we just closed. He goes to the city a lot. So I asked him, I said, do you want them to call here at the office, or is it better to call your cell here on this card? And he said, no, call my cell because I'm out and about. So we put the cell number on there. Okay, so it's just important to know that. Or if they want to be called on a very specific time, there's no line there, but you can literally handwrite it in this section of like, call between 4 and 8 and noon or whatever, okay? So that's the first thing I want you to double check. The second thing I want you to double check that you know is the premiums are being deducted how? Weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, or monthly, which you should already have this information on what? Yeah, you get that information on the benefit fact sheet, just make sure you have it.
What if a business owner wants to do it monthly, but they get
Then I would mark monthly there. They're only gonna do the deduction once a month, that's fine. Okay, so whatever they want, but typically it's based off of how, like 99% of the time it'll be based off of how they get paid, okay? And then this is the part I really want you to write down because this is important to know, okay? If they're weekly, okay? Number 2 on this bit, it says payments will be sent in. And there's a lot of options here. You got weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, blah, 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 blah. The most common are the last 3 to the right, monthly 445, and monthly 223. So I have to define what these are. Okay, is everybody giving me undivided attention because I don't want you guys to miss this part, okay? So they get paid weekly. Sometimes there's months that have 4 weeks in a month, and then there's 3 months that have 5 pay periods in a month. You have to match that up perfectly. So the second monthly one, the 445, is the box you want to check for weekly. And you have to ask them, what day do they run payroll every single week? And I did have to call, because I totally forgot to ask Richard about it, and I called him and I got that information before turning it in. But it's not what day they get paid, it's what day they run payroll. So that's how you want to ask. Okay, so what day do you run payroll? We run it on Tuesdays, so then you just circle the T for Tuesday. If you do that correctly, it'll match up perfectly. So if they have 5 deductions, they'll get billed for 5 weeks. They have 4 deductions, they'll get billed for 4. And it's not a bad idea to have that conversation with them. Like, we're going to match this up perfectly. Like, the reason I ask is because we're going to match it up. So the months that you have 5 pay periods, we invoice you for those payroll deductions, because this is going to be at no cost to you. But we want to match it up. So, and if there's ever a discrepancy, just call me, I can help you with that. Okay. So that's the weekly one. The next one is bi-weekly. If somebody is bi-weekly, then you have to have the conversation of like, okay, do you want these to be bi-weekly deductions, or do you want these to be semi-monthly deductions? So bi-weekly, there are 26 pay periods in a year, which means that there's going to be months, sometimes there's 2 pay periods, and then some months there's going to be 3 pay periods. There's 2 months out of the year for bi-weekly that are going to have 3 pay periods. So if they really wanted a true bi-weekly deduction, then you need to ask the one underneath the 445, the one that says 223, the monthly 223. Okay, yeah, I will get that right here. So right here. So this is, so if you mark weekly, you're asking this box here, 445, what day do you run payroll? And then you circle here. If they're bi-weekly, okay, do you want it to be a truly when you have 2 biweeklies, to match up and then 3 match up, if they say yes, then you have to ask this question, which is, what is your first payroll deduction of the calendar year that we're in, which is easy right now because we're in January. Okay, so Sam, let's go over that with you. So if they're weekly, you're gonna ask them 4, 4, 5. So what day do you run payroll and you mark it here? If they're bi-weekly, you're gonna ask them, if you really want it to be bi-weekly, then what is their first deduction for the year? Okay. But let me emphasize this. Sometimes when they're bi-weekly, they want semi-monthly deductions, which would be, right, then we would mark this, and then we would mark this first one. So semi-monthly, monthly, semi-monthly, monthly. And here's why, okay? And basically you just want to ask, like, when you guys have your third, if they're bi-weekly, you want to ask, when you guys get paid that third pay period in a month, do you guys have deductions out of it? And if they say no, like they don't get deducted for their health insurance, then I would mark it semi-monthly, monthly, so it matches up. Because if those employees are used to not having deductions out of that third pay period, you might as well just match it up that way. Okay, so just have that conversation with them. If they're bi-weekly or semi-monthly, okay? Worst case scenario, guys, though, if you get the enrollment date, you get the employee list, you get the 2 signatures, and you forget to have this conversation, we can always do it later, okay? We can literally turn in the paperwork, get a franchise number, and then change that. So it's not the end of the world, but do you want to have that conversation? Yes, you do. So I'm going to go over that one more time. Okay, so if they're weekly, you have to find out what day do they run payroll. Not what day they get paid, but what day they run payroll. If they're bi-weekly is the complicated one. You need to find out if they truly want it to be bi-weekly deductions or if they want to have semi-monthly deductions. And it's easy to ask, you just say, now, with you guys being bi-weekly, those months that you get a third pay period in the month, do you have deductions out of that pay period? If they say, oh yeah, Aflac's set up like that, yes, yes. Then they want it on bi-weekly 223. Okay, so then you have to ask, okay, what is your first payroll deduction for the calendar year? But if you ask that and you say, okay, on those months that you get that third pay period, do you guys have deductions out? And they say no. Okay, so then you guys want this set up on semi-monthly, monthly, so that way it's always just 2 times a month that it will be deducted. And then, because like, you were with me at City of Trenton. That was the situation. I marked it, when we went there, I marked it bi-weekly. But when we talked to Karen, who does payroll, she was like, no, I want it semi-monthly. I just changed it. So you can change it later if you need to, but you absolutely need to have that conversation at some point in time. Okay, so it's always better if you're used to it. You just, after you get your signatures done, it's a closed case. Just go to this page and just start making sure you have everything that you need. Okay.
Hey, Amanda.
Yep.
When you're going down the list, so like, the third one is semi-monthly, and then the last one is the bi-weekly.
No, you have it. So the top one is semi-monthly, where it says 12
Okay.
bills.
Okay.
The middle one is the weekly, so it says 445. That's the one
Okay.
you say circle the payroll date, so that's for weekly.
Okay.
And then the bottom one is for bi-weekly. 223.
Okay.
So the 223 means like in the year it goes, they'll have 2 pay periods, and then a 3 pay period, 3 pay periods, and then 2, 2, 3. That's how it works on bi-weekly. But we'll match it up. If we get that first payroll date of the calendar year, they will get invoiced perfectly. So there's no discrepancies. If you mess that up, what will happen is they might get invoiced for 3 pay periods, but they've only deducted 2. Now they're going to be like, whoa, you invoiced us way more than we have on hand. What's going on here? We can fix it, but sometimes that, like, people don't like surprises. It can irritate the payroll person. Okay, so you just want to proactively have that conversation. Okay. Any other questions?
Nope, that explained it. Thank you.
No? Okay. And that's honestly pretty much all of it. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through from top to the bottom of how this should go, okay? So I'm gonna start with my closing question, but let's go through one more time the order of how you wanna have this, okay? So first things first, you should have your checklist. Checklist first, then the example employee list, then the payroll deduction agreement page, and then the application for group life insurance. Okay, and then everything else can just be in the back, okay? All right. So I'm gonna start with my closing question. Okay, so Mr. Business Owner, if anybody wants to participate in any of these benefits, and all we ask is that you allow them to do it through payroll deduction, so you get the tax savings and they get the tax savings. And I have some time available next Tuesday, the 13th, to meet with your employees, or I could do on Thursday, in closer to the afternoon. Which day works best for you? Oh, you know, next week we're super busy, but we could do the week after. Okay, no problem. How about I have available that, and you know, you want to be in your phone, you know, on your calendar. Okay, well, we have some time available. How about Wednesday? If Wednesday works, perfect. Morning or afternoon better? Morning at 8 a.m. Great. So we have 8 a.m. Wednesday, the 21st. First thing I'm going to do is grab my pen. I'm writing it on the checklist. So now we've got our date. I'm handwriting it in. It's done deal. Okay. Mary Sue, will you be here that day on that Wednesday? Just, you know, obviously this is a new benefit program for everybody. Just want to make sure, you know, that you're there just as a cheerleader, making sure, you know, everybody's aware. Yep, I'll be there. And then you said you're the one that runs payroll, right? Okay, Mary Sue, you're the one that runs payroll. Okay, so I just have this quick checklist. There's just a couple things I need to get you in our system, and I'm going to start with this checklist, just making sure I covered everything with you today. So the most important part of successful benefit enrollment is 100% participation by all employees, and this benefits you in 3 ways. Number 1 is it increases your tax savings, okay? Because this is ran through Section 125. The more employees that participate in the benefits, the greater the tax savings for you as the employer. So we're going to ensure that. The second thing is employee goodwill. So as discussed, we're going to provide the accidental death benefit to all your employees and the health discount card at complete no cost to your employees. And we make sure your employees know that these benefits are being made available on your behalf. You want to read that, okay? And then the last thing is this just keeps you in compliance. Our goal is to make sure that your plan stays in compliance with Section 125. Your plan stays in compliance when you ensure that all employees have an opportunity to participate in benefits. We just want to make sure nobody feels discriminated against, but we do that for you. So we'll mark them off, okay? So in order for us to, Mary Sue, I just need 3 initials there. So go ahead and initial, boom, 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 she initials. And in order for us to make sure that we know who works here, all we ask is, I just need to get an employee list from you. And this is just an example. We don't need any personal information. I just need to know who works here. So that way we can provide the 2 benefits to everybody. And I just need name and hire date. Is that something I can get from you today? Yes, no, or, you know, okay. Okay, well, if it's going to be a big hassle, you know, I want to make this as easy as possible. I can actually just jot it down. I mean, I know you work here and Bobby Sue up front. And who's next? You know, handwrite if you need to. And I just need to get a signature on this page. So if you don't mind signing that here. Okay, perfect. Great, so we got that. And then, Mary Sue, you're going to get a phone call from our home office. It's just a verification call, making sure that you guys are a real business, that you are adopting this program. Is that something that you can take that call, or do you want that to be somebody else? No, I can take that call. Okay, it'll just be sometime on Friday when I get this turned in and in our system. It'll only take about 3 to 5 minutes, but do you want them to call you here at the office, or do you want them to call a different number? Oh, have them call my cell phone. Okay, what's that number? Boom, I'm gonna write that on that other page, the billing information sheet. Or let me get you a card, it'll be on that, perfect. You always wanna try to get a business card. Okay, so we got the verification call. Okay, perfect. I got my employee list, perfect. And then there's just 2 signatures. I just need to finish up getting you guys in our system. And that's on this page here. The first one is this payroll deduction agreement. Basically, all this is saying that if any of your employees want to participate, you're willing to do the payroll deductions and send those to Liberty National. And I always like to highlight this 4th paragraph here. Obviously, this is always meant to be at complete no cost to you as a business. So the employer assumes no responsibility of payroll deduction if you have termination of employment of any of your employees. So I just need 1 signature here. And when you do this, guys, side note, everything's no big deal. Like if you notice my tone of voice, it's like, yeah, no big deal, no big deal. They will feed off of your energy. If you act like this is like, okay, we got the contract now, we're gonna have like, this is a big deal. Like, that's when they're like, whoa, 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 I don't want to sign anything right now. You know what I mean? But if the more comfortable you are with it, the more comfortable they will be with it from my experience. And a lot of times that just comes from rapport too, like how good of your rapport is in the beginning. So like, so no big deal. This is all this is saying is just, you know, you're willing to do the payroll deductions for any of the benefits that they want to participate in and send those to Liberty National. I need a signature there. Boom, got that. And then this last one is just the application for the group life insurance. That's that group term that we'll offer to everybody. So I just need 1 signature there. Boom. And just so you guys know, I forgot to cover this on this page. Again, if you have any hesitancy, this bottom sentence on this page gives you security. This is the application for group life. Okay, this bottom sentence, what it says is the signing of this application by the policyholder, in parentheses, it says employer, does not constitute an endorsement of Liberty National Life Insurance Company or the group term life insurance product. So it's basically like, if you have somebody hesitant, be like, this isn't a contract. This is just allowing us to offer it to your employees. And if they read it, they're like, okay, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just, you know, making it available. That's for the people that are like weird about signing things. Okay. But normally, again, they feed off of your energy. So no big deal. Okay. Okay. And that's pretty much all that I need, Mary Sue. So, just a couple of things I want to just double check. So you're going to be the person taking that verification call. Again, that'll be sometime on Friday. They're going to be calling your cell phone. Is there a certain time that's better for them to reach you? First thing in the morning, perfect, like 8 a.m. Perfect, 8 to 10, I'll put that on here and you could just handwrite that in, okay? And you said you're weekly, right? So all I need to know so we can match up your invoices perfectly for the months that you have 5 payrolls versus the months that you have 4 payrolls. I just need to know what day you run payroll and I can match that up perfectly. So explain that, okay? Oh, you run it on Wednesday? Perfect, circle that. And I forgot to cover one thing. The last thing you want to ask is, okay, now, any employees that want to participate, you make the deductions first, and then we send you that invoice. Does all of your invoices come here to this location? Or do you have a PO box? Or is there a different address? Because that's on this page here too. Because if they're like, no, we don't want it sent here, 99% of the time it's the business address, but every once in a while there's a different address. So you just want to ask them that. Okay. And then that's pretty much it, Mary Sue. Last thing, so we're going to be here on the 21st at 8 a.m. Obviously, we want your employees, this is a new benefit program for them. We want your employees to know that we're coming ahead of time. So I have a flyer, like an employee announcement memo flyer that I can email you. Is there a way that you can distribute that to your employees? And I want you to write this down because, side note, this part is actually very important for any enrollment, whether it's a new enrollment or a re-enrollment. You want the employees to know you are coming ahead of time. You don't want to show up and then be like, oh yeah, my boss didn't even tell me you were coming. I can't make this decision on the spot. Like, where were we at recently? Where was that? Where was I? It happened this week. Hold on one second. Gosh, I see so many people. Long story short, I was enrolling somebody and this guy, oh, that was at Real Ice. Obviously he got his flyer. He knew he had printed out all of the benefits that him and his wife had through her work. He had it printed out, so he knew like what Aflac policies, what group life insurance, how much it was and everything. He had that prepared so he could meet with me so he could make decisions. So it's like, you want that, you know, first, like you just show up and the boss is like, oh yeah, hey, you know, she's going to talk to you about benefit options. And then that's the first that they're hearing of it. It's like, you'll still get plenty of employees that will enroll on the spot, but it just is way better if they have a heads up that you're coming. So when you get done with everything, you want to have that conversation of like, okay, how can I notify the employees? And you want to make sure you know exactly how they're going to distribute that flyer. So you want to have that conversation. So I have a flyer that I can email you, and it's going to let them know, like, this is a new program. These are increased benefits. It's awesome because it helps with employee morale, especially nowadays. You know, anything that you can give more to your employees helps with employee retention. So I'll get you that flyer. It'll give them a heads up. It'll give them a heads up ahead of time that we'll be there on the 21st. I'll put the date on there. It will explain the 2 benefits everyone's entitled to just for working here. Give them a quick snapshot of what else is newly available to them. But if I email that to you, are you able to put that with pay stubs? Are you able to do it that way, or would you email it to everybody? You want to find out how they're going to distribute it. You don't want to just be like, okay, I'm going to email you a flyer and can you just make sure everybody gets informed? If you don't have that conversation, like you will email it to them and they won't do anything with it. They'll be like, oh yeah, thanks for the flyer. I got busy doing something else and nobody actually got informed. Like, have that conversation. Because if it is going to go with pay stubs, like if they're like, yeah, you know, we're on direct deposit, but everybody gets a pay stub and they get paid weekly. Okay. So since you guys get paid weekly, what day do they receive their pay stubs? Oh, they're going to receive it this Friday. Perfect. So if I get you that flyer tomorrow, are you able to get it in their pay stubs for this upcoming Friday? But think about it. If they're biweekly or semi-monthly and they get pay stubs, now you got to plan that out. Because if your enrollment is 2 weeks out, you got to make sure that they're actually going to get paid in that meantime. Because the problem is, oh no, they just got paid today, so they won't get paid by the time you guys get here. Oh, okay, is there a way that we can just distribute? Oh yeah, I'll hand it out to everybody. Fine, that's fine. You know, you just want to make sure you know, because you guys haven't experienced it, because obviously Craig, Diana, myself do a good job of making sure the employees, but if you go to enrollment and they have no idea that that we're coming, it deflates. It's like deflates the whole energy of the enrollment. Because they're like, employees are like, yeah, I didn't even know you guys were coming, you know, whatever. It's way better when they're like, oh yeah, I got this flyer 2 weeks ago. I'm interested in this, this, and this. How awesome is that? Which happens a lot. So it takes like 2 minutes to have that conversation of setting up that enrollment and making sure that it's good. Now, just so you guys know, we also, I mean, I don't want to we should do training on how to set up an enrollment properly. We do have posters here that you guys can take. The problem with that, I don't really like that. And it's very rare if I bring posters, because I mean, we have posters here and I couldn't even tell you what are on our walls. I mean, now I'm standing in the room, but if like I was at the grocery store and you were like, hey, you know, what's that career tracker? You know, like, what does it take to be an agency director? You know, I mean, who really goes up there and reads it? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we do, but you get the point. If you are going to do a poster, like, don't just like, here's a blank poster. Like, no, you want to fill it in. You want to know where they're going to hang that poster. So, okay, if I get you a poster, like, where are you going to hang it so the employees can be notified ahead of time? Like, posters, people don't really notice as much. It's better to have an individual flyer that gets distributed with information from that business owner. And we have them, but we type it, like, we have it typed out. We put the date on it and everything. Because like another good example I just booked a re-enrollment yesterday, and she's like, okay, I'm going to email everybody. I'll let them know that you're going to, like, she said it ahead of time. She's like, I'm going to email everybody to let them know that you're going to be coming on that 21st. I'll tell them they have to be here sometime between 10 and noon. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. But how about this? Why don't I send you a flyer that has information? I'll put the date on. She's like, oh, that would be wonderful. Because guess what? If you just are like, oh yeah, you do it, the email out to everybody is gonna be like, hey, insurance people are coming here, Liberty National, make sure you're here between 10 and noon, and that's all it's gonna say. Like, she's not gonna give them information on, hey, you're entitled to 2 benefits, these are what the benefits are, there's these other like group life insurance now option, you know what I mean? Like, those flyers are awesome. We want it to come from us, okay? But just make sure you know, like, it's very, very, very important we know how they're gonna get informed that we're gonna be there that day. Okay. Any questions on anything? Anybody on virtual that has questions? Any scenarios that you guys, questions or concerns? No? Okay, so the next thing what I want to do, so I'm gonna get off with you guys, okay? But what I'm gonna do with these here is we're gonna role play the section 125 paperwork from the close through. So I know you guys don't have, you know, it's just you, but like Julie, I know you have paperwork in front of you. Jazz, if you have it, or Diane, if you have it from your training stuff, take that section 125 paperwork. This is new information in your head. When we get off of here, go ahead and role play, like with yourself. You guys that are at home, say it out loud, the closing statement with the enrollment dates, practice. Oh, okay, so next Wednesday at 8 a.m., go ahead and like get your pen out, practice writing it in all the way through so you have your whole packet done, okay? All right, so I'm gonna get off of here, guys. Hope you
Okay.
feel better, and then if I don't talk to you guys, I'll see you Monday. Our team meeting's right at, it'll start sharp at 8:30 a.m., okay?
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
You guys have a good weekend.
You
You
too.
too, thank
Bye-bye.
you.